Hello everyone, this is the English PSTAR video, and before I start, I want to let everyone know that this class is going to be a bit intense. I'm not necessarily going to go into all of the specifics for all the terms. I expect that those who watch this video are the ones signed up for the PSTAR course. This is, of course, open to all, but because of how dense the information is, I want everyone to know that it's normal if you don't understand everything, and as usual, you're free to ask questions. I don't want to spend any more time. This is going to be a long class or a decently long class. So let's get straight into it. Hello, everyone. So let's start with the lesson plan for today. We're going to start off with what the P-STAR is, collision avoidance, visual science, communications, and then we'll quickly look at what next class will be. Straight into the P-STAR. My camera's hiding a bit of this. I'll move it in a sec. So the PSTAR doesn't actually stand for anything. It's just the code for the mandatory exam that all student pilots must take. Um, it's for plain student pilots. It doesn't apply to gliders or to um, ultralights. It's a bank of around 200 questions, and 50 are asked randomly. You're able to memorize all the questions and get 100%. That's fine. I've done that. The passing grade would be 90%. And in my opinion, it is the closest exam to the PPTC or GPTC exam to get in. Obviously, a lot of things are off, but and there will be questions in that are in the exam that are not in the P star or vice versa. But as far as I can tell, if you can ace the P star, you will get very close on acing the cadet exam. And here I put a link. Of course, this PowerPoint is already in the Google Drive. I put a link to the Canada.ca website, giving all the P-STAR questions and all the information regarding it. I'll just move my little face here. The themes that are seen in the P-STAR would be collision avoidance, visual science, communications, aerodromes, equipment, pilot responsibilities, wake turbulence, air medical, flight plans and flight itineraries, clearances and instructions, flight operations, regulations, controlled airspace, and aviation occurrences. So we're going to be seeing 3 out of those today. I will be honest, the communications is a bit longer than usual, so it's in the future videos, we might go through more than just 3 points. But I want to understand that P-STAR is a big thing. It concerns a lot of things. Great, let's go straight up into. Did I forget to change the name? I'm so sorry, guys. It's collision avoidance, not prérequis de passage. So, what happens if 2 aircraft are on a collision course or on course to hit each other? So what happens is entirely determined on what type of aircraft it is, right? An aircraft, little revision, means anything that flies. Anything that flies at all. We organize these aircraft based on maneuverability. Maneuverability is just how much it can move in space, how much it can control its movement in space. Those with less maneuverability have priority over those with more. The order of maneuverability from least to most, conversely, most to least priority, goes as follows: hot air balloons, gliders, airships, so blimps, towing planes, and power-driven heavier-than-air aircraft. That would be planes or helicopters. Um, why? It's pretty simple, I think. A hot air balloon can do 2 things: go up or down. It cannot go. It can go side to side, but it has no control or very little control over where it goes side to side. Gliders have control over where they go side to side, but it's almost always down. They can go up with thermals, but they don't control that. Airships, they can maneuver where they go, up, down, left, and right, but very slowly. So, less maneuverability. Tow planes, these planes are able to control where they go, of course, but because they're towing either a banner or a glider or whatever else, they're limited in what they can do. So, they can't necessarily get out of the way. And then power-driven heavier-than-air aircraft, if all goes well, are able to get out of most situations, physically at least. So I hope that explains the priority. If there's a balloon and you have a plane, you're not going to go into it and expect it to move. You have the power to move, it doesn't. Sweet, let's continue. I forgot to change the name again, whatever. Uh, what happens if 2 aircraft of the same type are on a collision course? Well, now, to determine what happens, you have to see the position of the aircraft, right? So, by the way, don't worry for those who like visual things. We have images in the next slide. So, if they're crossing perpendicularly like this, the airplane that has the other on its right must give way. What that means is it's kind of like an intersection for cars. I don't know how many of you have your driver's license or have taken your driving classes, but if you come to a four-way intersection and you get two cars stopping, right? Um, if you have the car to your right, you must wait for it to pass. Same idea. Of course, in aviation, it's not waiting, you must just get out of the way. The other person must keep going forward. If you have right of way, you continue. You act as if nothing happened. I'll get into that in a bit. If you're face to rear, the one on the front has priority, and if the one in the rear wants to pass it, you have to surpass it by the right. Um, if they're face to face, both aircraft must divert to the right. There's no right of way. Both need to divert to the right. If two aircraft are coming in for landing, let's say the bottom of my screen here there we are, is the ground. This aircraft's coming in for landing here. This aircraft's coming in for landing here or here. I don't know. The one on the bottom here has priority on landing. And in any situation, an emergency has priority. A balloon could be landing, but if a power-driven aircraft is on fire, it has to land first. Let's see the images here. So on the left side, we can see the landing priority, as I mentioned. The one on the bottom here has priority over the one on the top for landing. So the one in higher altitude will have to go around or add power or whatever. And on the right here, we have the other situations I'd mentioned. If they're going face to face, they both divert to the right. If they're going face to face but perpendicularly, what happens is that, like I said, in this case, aircraft B must keep going forward. It's not a courtesy thing, it is a law thing. You must keep going forward. And aircraft A, in this case, turns to the right to divert. If you're face to tail, the one in the front has priority. The one in the front continues going straight forward. And the one in the back, if it wants to overtake, passes by the right. Great. Let's see some sample questions. These are questions in the PSTAR, not necessarily questions you will be seeing in the cadet exam, but these are questions that you can do and that exist in the PSTAR. Great, so when two aircraft are converging at approximately the same altitude, which statement applies? Let's go through the options here. Gliders shall give way to helicopters. Airplanes shall give way to power-driven heavier-than-air aircraft. Gliders shall give way to aeroplanes. And power-driven heavier-than-air aircraft shall give way to gliders. So I think that in 1 and 3, we can see that these ones, it's just not true at all. Gliders have right of way over heavier than air aircraft. Remember, gliders can't decide where they go up and down. So, helicopters and airplanes must move out of the way. But now, some of you might get tripped up on answer 2 here. Shall give way to power-driven heavier than air aircraft. What does that mean? That's one of the PSTAR things. They'll ask you questions that make no sense. An airplane is a power-driven heavier than air aircraft. This answer is nonsensical. The answer would be power-driven heavier than air aircraft shall give way to gliders. Great. Let's go to the bottom left here. When two aircraft are approaching head-on or approximately so, and there is danger of collision, shall. Let's go through the options again. Decrease airspeed, increase airspeed, alter heading to the right, or alter heading to the left. There's no trick question here. The answer is 3. You must alter heading to the right. There's almost no situation in aviation where you change to the left. So that's what's nice. You just remember right. Go to the right. Let's go to the one under me here. Two aircraft on approach to land. The aircraft at the higher altitude shall A, have right of way, B, overtake the lower aircraft on the left, 3, give way, and 4, complete a 360-degree turn to the right. So we know it's not 1, because we know that the lower aircraft has right of way over the higher aircraft. Makes sense. Overtake the lower aircraft on the left, that's doubly wrong. You're not going to overtake an aircraft that's about to land, because there might not be a runway next to you, and you don't overtake on the right. 3, give way, and 4, complete a 360-degree turn to the right. Now, the PSTAR is known for making you stressed out. You might be thinking, oh, well, is it 4? Because 4 kind of makes sense. You are going to do a turn to give way. Does not matter. The answer is 3, is to give way. You don't have to complicate yourself. Let's look at the one here. When converging at approximately the same altitude, 1, balloons shall give way to hang gliders. 2, Airplanes towing gliders shall give way to balloons. 3. Balloons shall give way to gliders. And 4. Balloons shall give way to airships. In this case, the answer is just 2. Airplanes towing gliders shall give way to balloons. It doesn't matter what the glider is in this case. It's an airplane towing something has right of way over. Sorry, has to give way to balloons. Fantastic. So let's go to part 2 of this course already. We're not doing too bad. Visual signs. So what happens if the tower, the controller of the tower, can no longer communicate with you for whatever reason? There might be no more electricity. Maybe the mic doesn't work. Maybe it's your fault. It's your problem. Your radio doesn't work. Whatever it might be, the controllers use what's called a light gun. It's like this huge. The best way I can describe it is you guys see going like see Despicable Me like one. They have like the fart guns. That's what it looks like. It's a gun with a huge like opening, a circle opening, but it's light instead. They can be red or white, and then when they pull the trigger, it turns on. Um, they can flash it by doing multiple pulls, or they can just pull the trigger once, or to keep it continuously on. The general rule for this, and we will get into the specifics, but the general rule is green is go, red is stop, of course. Solid, so continuous light, would be takeoff and landing, and flashing would be get ready or go away. Does that make sense? Let's see the specific use cases. My face here is covering the word. Oh, forgot to change that as well. Sorry, guys. On the ground. Sweet. So, if it is solid green, and you're in the air, that means clear to land. Remember, green is go, and solid is landing takeoff. And so, if you're on the ground, solid green is clear for takeoff. If it is flashing green, that means return for landing, and is flashing green, clear for taxi. Either in the air or on the ground. In this case, we said flashing means get ready. Kind of same thing. Return for landing is get ready to land, and clear to taxi is like get ready to take off soon. Solid red would mean give way to other aircraft and keep circling. So don't land yet. Just keep flying, but you're going to land soon. And on the ground, that means just stop. Stop what you're doing. Flashing red, you don't want to see flashing red. Flashing red means unsafe airport, do not land if you're in the air. And if you're on the ground and you see flashing red, it'll say taxi clear of landing area in use. I haven't specified here, but this will be from the tower. You're going to point the gun at you and flash it. And so you're going to be seeing a light from the tower. Lastly, flashing white is a thing in France in the air, as far as I can tell, but not in Canada. So ignore that in the air. But on the ground, it does mean return to your starting point on the aerodrome. One trick that Mr. Amami gave me is that because it is a gun and they're doing this, so flashing green, return for landing. Right? Does that make sense? Like, come back. Like, return for landing. And flashing red, I kind of see it as like, stop, go away, bye-bye, stop. And I still see that as the case on the ground. Taxi clear of the landing area in use. Go away. Leave. Something's going to land. You have to leave. Cool. Now, we'll go through 3 other visual signals that seem absurd, but these are all questions in the PSTAR, and they're useful to know at some point in your life. Flashing runway lights. The runway has lights on the side of it. If they flash, that means leave the runway. But it's talking to pedestrians and vehicles. Sometimes pedestrians, or people who work at the airport, will go on the runway to test out if it's slippery enough, if it's dry enough, whatever it might be. And sometimes if an airplane's coming to land while that's happening, they will flash the lights to say, hey, get out of here. Neon yellow and black lines on a rooftop. So that's a mink farm for fur. It's a fur farm. The reason that that's a thing you must like take into account how loud you can be or how close you can be to it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to know the limits or whatever it is, but you have to know that yellow and black is fur farms, because if you make too much noise farm, like if you fly directly above a fur farm, the minks will get terrified and the mother will eat the children. So you don't want that for a fur farm. They're gonna get pretty mad. Area with caribou, you must stay above at or above 2,000 feet AGL. AGL means from the ground, not from the sea, but like from the ground under you. Probably a similar story. You don't want to scare the caribou, so fly above 2,000 feet. Great. Let's see some more sample questions now. So, To the top, sorry, top left. A steady red light directed at an aircraft means in flight, to give way to another aircraft and continue circling, or airport unsafe, do not land. We saw a steady red is what that meant was give way to other aircraft. It's not flashing like go away, it's just saying like just wait a sec. So that gives us the answer of either one or two. Let's see what a steady red light could mean on the ground. It says either taxi clear of landing area in use or stop. Taxi clear of landing area in use, that was also flashing red. That was get away from here. Steady red just means stop. So, in this case, the answer would be number one. Let's go bottom left here. Chrome yellow and black strips painted on pylons or on the roof of a building identifies 1. An area where explosives are in use, 2. A fur farm, 3. An artillery range, or 4. An open pit mine. Honestly, a lot of these would be useful to have identifications for, but we don't. The answer in this case would be 2. A fur farm, as I mentioned just a few seconds ago. Let's see under me. A steady green light directed at an aircraft means, respectively, in flight, our options are either cleared to land or return for landing. Green, we saw that meant go, and steady means landing or takeoff, right? So, in that case, steady green in the air means cleared to land. Great, so that gives us either two options. On the ground, it means cleared to taxi or cleared for takeoff. We said steady means takeoff or landing, so in this case, the answer would be 4. In flight, it is cleared to land, and on the ground, it is cleared for takeoff. Let's see the one where I'm kind of hiding it right now. A series of green flashes directed at an aircraft means, respectively, our options are cleared to land or return for landing. Green flashes, we know that we said that specifically green flashes is, I want to make sure I'm not, yeah, get ready or go away. I was right. In my head, I didn't say it. So green flashes is get ready or go away. So in this case, get ready would be return for landing. Don't land yet, but return for landing. So that gives us two options here. On the ground, it's either cleared for takeoff or cleared to taxi. We know that solid is for takeoff and flashing is get ready. So get ready would be cleared to taxi. Taxi to the runway. So in this case, the answer would be 3. A series of green flashes in flight means return for landing, and on the ground means clear to taxi. Fantastic. Let's continue. Now we're at the communications part of the course, and this is the longest. I think there's like 4 or 5 slides on this. But then we'll pretty much be done. Let's get on this directly. Radio readability. So when you speak on the radio, sometimes your radio might be bad, sometimes your headphones might be bad, sometimes your mic, whatever it might be. We need a way to be able to understand how to rate this level. If I speak to you and you don't understand a word of what I'm saying, that's unreadable. So we have a system. It's a scale, a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is you can barely understand a single word or not understand a single word the person's saying. And 5 is it's like they're speaking right in front of you. So, all you have to know is the 3 is readable with difficulty, but it's useful to know all of them. 1 would be unreadable. You don't understand a single word this person's saying. 2 would be readable now and then. So, sometimes you get what they're saying, but most of the time not. Readable with difficulty is 3. You get what they're saying if you really listen. 4 is readable, fine. 5 is perfectly readable, like I said, like if they're speaking in front of you. Great. Let's talk about the ATIS, Automatic Terminal Information System. I think we've spoken about it at some point in the past in person. I forget, it's been a while. The ATIS essentially, it serves to give less work to the air traffic controllers, right? Contact air traffic control, they can give you all the wind information. They can say wind is 250-12, temperature, whatever. They can say everything. But at big airports, they don't want to waste their time doing that and controlling traffic. So they have a little robot that says all the information for you. It'll say like, wind, same thing I just said, right? Wind 250 at 12, gusting 13, gusting 20, I don't know. It'll say whatever it's saying. It'll give the active runway in some cases or the NOTAM. It updates it every hour, and they also have a code. What do I mean by a code? So at the end of the ATIS, it'll say, you now have information Bravo, or Charlie, or Delta, or whatever letter of the alphabet. We'll get to that in a second. Wait, did I write it? I don't think I wrote it in my next one, so I'll just say it here. Um, when you speak to air traffic control after having listened to the ATIS, you're going to say, "This is." I'm not going to say the exact specific example. I'm going to say like, "Hey, airport. Um, this is this plane with information, Bravo or Charlie or whatever." You have to say with information. That's a very important part here. When you're contacting ATC with the previous ATIS information. Cool. Let's next slide here. Aircraft registration. So a registration is kind of like a driver's license. It's like a couple of letters that mean this plane. In Canada, they always start with C dash. For example, C JDF or Charlie Golf Alpha Delta Foxtrot. Great. So now let's talk about contacting ATS. ATS and ATC are similar things. Don't get stuck up on it. They're basically the same for all intents and purposes. We can omit the C if we're flying in Canada. I don't have to say the C at the beginning of all of my transmissions, um, because we're in Canada. So the operator, the person I'm talking to, assumes so. If I'm American, I would say November at the beginning of my transmissions. In Canada, I'd have to say it because it's not a Canadian airplane. I think France is FR. Every country has their own little thing. They don't always make sense with the name of the country. If ATS omits the first letter of your registration, you can say the three last ones if you want. I made a mistake in my example here. I want to say example Charlie Golf Alpha Delta Foxtrot becomes Alpha Delta Foxtrot. What this means is basically if the person you're speaking to kind of gets tired of saying the name all the time, the whole name of the plane, they can just say the last three letters, and then if when they say it, you can say it, right? I'll get to the example in a sec. On first contact, you must always say the name of the aircraft with the full registration, all four letters, if in Canada. So here's an example. I'd be coming back to land at Saint Jean Airport. I would say Saint Jean Tower, system one. This is one. Well, I could say this is, but it doesn't really matter. Saint Jean Tower, system 172, Golf Alpha Delta Foxtrot. And then they might answer Alpha Delta Foxtrot, state intentions. Cool. I don't have to say golf anymore. I can just say Alpha Delta Foxtrot because they said it. Fantastic. I think that covers everything on this slide. Let's talk about ground communications. This one's a bit tricky. Try to to get your visualization muscles going on. You always need authorization to cross a runway. Always. If you receive the authorization to taxi to a runway without being given the instruction to hold short, you may cross taxiways, but not a runway. I'll say it again. If you receive the authorization to taxi to a runway without being given the instruction to hold short, you may cross taxiways, but not a runway. For those who don't know, a holding short clearance or holding short instruction means, um, let's say you have your runway. Ooh, let's say you have your runway here. I'm going 2D, and you want to get on the runway, like this, like the road to get to it. Here, there's a little line, and so if you're parking, if you're parking your plane, well, not parking, trying to get your plane onto the runway, you're going to hold short. You're going to wait at the line. You have to legally wait at this line. That's what holding short is. They'll tell you hold short. That just means wait in front of the runway. Don't get on yet. Great. If you receive the instruction for an immediate departure, you must depart in one continuous movement. So what this means is that the airport may be really busy, and so the air traffic controllers might say, Alpha Delta Foxtrot, could you take an immediate departure? And you could decide yes or no. And if you decide yes, you must get on the runway and take off immediately in one continuous motion. Lastly, you hold short instructions. What this means, when the air traffic controller is telling you where to go in the airport, once they tell you to hold short, you have to read that back. Read back just means say it back to them. That's all it means. So if they say Golf Alpha Delta Foxtrot, taxi Alpha Charlie Bravo, hold short 2-4. You can say the rest. It's pretty useful to say the rest, but you all you legally have to say is Saint Jean Tower, holding short 2-4, Alpha Delta Foxtrot. You or just hold short 2-4. You have to say that. Fantastic. So air communications. You always need a landing clearance to land if you're at an airport with a tower with an air traffic controller. Always, always. And if you receive an instruction, you must follow it unless safety is compromised. Okay, what that means is that basically in your PSTAR, if you get any answer, any if any of the answers are, I will do it, you being as safe as possible, comply to the rules until safety is compromised. That is the answer. It's always about safety with aviation. Great, I think that covers this. Let's continue. So departure and arrival communications. When you depart an airport with the tower, you must stay on the tower frequency until you are clear of the control zone. That means until you're outside of the control zone. If there's additional traffic, ATS will give you your number to land. What that means, let's say you want to land, and there's two other planes in front of you. You can't just land. ATS is going to say, for example, Alpha Delta Foxtrot, you are number 3 for runway 24. And then you'll have to say number 3, runway 24. This means you're the third person to land. Just remember, you will be given your number. When you receive landing clearance, you must read back your registration. That's the minimum legally. I'm going to land, and the tower is about to clear me to land. They'll say Alpha Delta Foxtrot, clear to land, runway 24. All I have to say legally is Alpha Delta Foxtrot. What I suggest to everyone is to say clear to land 24 Alpha Delta Foxtrot, just to make sure you're on the same page. You might have misheard something. But legally, all you have to do is read the registration. MF aerodrome. So what's MF? MF is mandatory frequency. That means there's nobody actually controlling the air traffic. There's nobody in the tower. It's everyone's talking to each other. You're saying, hey guys, I'm landing here. I'm here right now. I'm going to be showing up in 5 minutes. Whatever it might be. The frequency on the radio, for the radio, is found in the CFS. The CFS is this little blue book. I think I've given it to a couple of you guys. If not, I think a lot of the pages are in the Google Drive. You can always ask me to put more of the pages on. And when you speak to an MF, you're speaking to traffic. You're not saying tower or ground or whatever. You're saying traffic. So let's say, and I'm going to land. I'd say Drummondville traffic on final landing 24, something like that, right? I would say traffic to everyone. Pilot must make all the necessary radio communications. You could be alone at this airport, and you can know for a fact there's not a single other pilot within 100 miles of you. You have to speak at this airport, legally. It's just a question of safety. There might be somebody who you don't know is there. And so you have to speak for them so they know where you are. It's very scary at MF airports sometimes. You have to let everyone know as much as possible. When departing, you must monitor the frequency until past the specified distance or altitude given in the CFS. I feel that's pretty self-explanatory. Comes without an MF. The standard frequency is 123.2. That just means if there's no specific frequency given out, everyone uses 123.2 megahertz, of course. There could be multiple airports on 123.2. When I land at Sorel, I can hear like Varennes Airport. Or Versailles Airport, whatever. I can hear or Val d'Or, I think. No, not Val d'Or. That's a bit too far. But I hear people talk on the same frequency, and I have to listen. Are they saying Varennes traffic, or are they saying Sorel traffic? And I have to make the distinction and listen to them if it's important to me or not. Great. So let's talk about a FIC. A FIC is a flight information center, and they are managed by FSSs, or flight service specialists. Essentially, these are places that when you call them, they give you flight planning or flight planning services to you. If you call on the radio, if you call on the phone, you can just talk to them like a regular person. If you're talking to them on the radio, you will say radio at the end, not traffic, not tower, not FSS, or FIC. You will say radio. My example in this case would be Quebec radio. What is the current weather? Or Quebec radio. This is Golf Alpha Delta Foxtrot. Could I have the current weather at Trois-Rivières, for example? And I'll give you the current weather and let you know information that might be useful to you. Great. VFR en route. So VFR en route basically means you're between control zones. You're just in air. Control zones would be like airports and whatnot, or places close to airports. If you're not in a control zone, you must monitor 126.7 megahertz. That's the frequency that everyone's on. If you're about to do like flips, they don't know where you are. You will be saying Montreal traffic, or I don't know, wherever city you're in, Montreal traffic. I'm currently 2 miles north of, let's say Saint Jean, 2 miles north of Saint Jean. Going to be doing backflips at 2,000 feet. You're gonna be talking, and everyone listens, and they'll say, "Hey, I'm there right now. Could you do backflips a couple of miles away?" And you can say, "Yeah, no problem." Of course, backflips is a joke in this case, but you get the idea. You must communicate for others to know what's happening. If you have another radio, you must also monitor 0.5 megahertz. This is absolutely vital information to know. That is the emergency frequency. If there is an issue, you speak on this frequency, and everyone knows there's an emergency, and everyone listens. You have high priority. So if you have two radios, you put one on 126.7 if you're not in a control zone, and the other one you're listening on 121.5. Great. Let's talk about emergency communications then. So, the three main things you need to do as a pilot is, in order, aviate, navigate, communicate. What does that mean? Aviating is making sure you're not crashing into the ground. So, I have to, at any given moment, make sure the plane is level and I'm not crashing. The plane is flying great. Then I can figure out, okay, where am I? And then I can figure out, okay, I can talk to people now. If you're talking but you don't know where you are, or you're talking but the airplane's about to crash, something's an issue. You have to, in that order, aviate, navigate, communicate. So there's two types of distress signals you can give, or signals you can give if there's an issue. One is Mayday, the other is Pan Pan. Both of those words are French actually. Mayday, like aidez-moi, and Pan Pan, like une panne d'électricité. A lot of aviation is French for some reason. There's a lot of mix up. I don't know. Um, if you have grave and imminent danger, you say Mayday. That means you are currently crashing into the ground, or there is something currently happening right now which will make you die right now. Right? That's a Mayday. A Pan Pan is a security issue. Could be deadly at some point. Right? Let's say you lost an engine, but you can still land, you think. That's a Pan Pan. Mayday, you say, of course, three times. You would say Mayday, Mayday, Mayday before saying anything else. And that corresponds to a distress call. Distress, that's important here. And then a security issue for Pan Pan, like I said, maybe somebody passes out in the cabin. That's a Pan Pan issue. You need to have priority over other people to land or for anything, except if another person is on fire and about to crash. So you don't say Pan Pan Pan. You say Pan 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 Pan, and that is an urgency. Fantastic. So if you want to cancel a distress call, this is important to know. You must say Mayday once. Hello all stations, hello all stations, hello all stations. This is, and then you'll see the call sign of the station transmitting the message, the filing time of the message, and the call sign of the station in distress. All that. Um, and then you'll say silence fini, out. Even in English, you say silence fini. That's why it's spelled weird, because it's, even for American, or for people who speak English, they might not know French. They have to say silence fini, or whatever they say. Silence fini, out. Fantastic. So, what's a NOTAM? A notice to all airmen. A NOTAM is basically, you guys can find it on the website where you find your METARs and your TAFs. It's one of the options. It gives all tons of information, like a whole lot of information on whatever might be useful, right? It could be there's smoke in the area. It could be, hey, there's big pylons or cranes right now, so maybe make sure you're keeping clear of those. It could be, hey, this runway is closed. It could be, hey, the military is doing whatever, like I guess a test over Farnham today. Don't go to Farnham, right? You get the idea. It's just messages that are useful to everybody in this area. They're given by the FIC or by FIX. Yeah, no, by the FIC. If you see EST in your NOTAM, that could mean the time is estimated. Well, does mean the time is estimated. To cancel this NOTAM, you will need another NOTAM to close it. Let's say, right now in Los Angeles, there's tons of fires. So there could be a NOTAM right now saying, NOTAM, there was a lot of smoke up until 3,000 feet right now, or whatever. And then it might say est in the end of it. It might say, like, we think it's going to end in 3 days. But then it might continue for a week. So then another NOTAM will have to be published to say there's still more smoke. The time is still estimated. And when there is no smoke, then a NOTAM will be published saying Cool, it's done. The smoke is finished. You guys can fly here now. Elsewise, if there's not EST written in here, the no time expires at the written time. Let's say, like the example I gave, governments or militaries doing training over Farnham, they know they're going to be done by 3 p.m. So they're going to say military training over Farnham will be finished by 3 p.m. Period. Then that's all you need to know. Fantastic. We're already done now. Let's get to our sample questions. There's 3 pages of well, 3 slides of sample questions for the communications because it's hefty. There's a lot of stuff to know. Let's get started. You advise ATC that you are on a downwind leg. If there is other traffic in the circuit, ATC will then 1. Inform you of your number in the approach sequence or other appropriate instructions. 2. Inform you of the runway in use, wind and altimeter. 3. Advise you of all other circuit traffic. Or 4. Clear you to land. See, these ones are pretty difficult. Because all 4 seem like they make sense, right? Maybe they will advise you of all the circuit traffic. Well, that's a Unicom that does that. We're not going to get into that right now, but that's not what they do. They give you more information than that. They won't clear you to land because you're on the downwind leg. They might not clear you on downwind if there's other planes in the circuit. They might inform you of the runway in use and altimeter, but they're going to do more than that. They're going to inform you of the number in the approach sequence, and then give you the appropriate instructions. That's what I said earlier, right? The number in the approach the third to land, they'll say number 3. That's what I meant by that. So in this case, the answer would be number 1. Let's go down left here. ATC advises you that your radio transmissions are readability 3. What does this mean? Does this mean it's readable now and then, readable with difficulty, readable, or perfectly readable? So let's go through the scale again. 1, it's unreadable. 2 is readable now and then. 3 is readable with difficulty. 4 is readable. And 5 is perfectly readable. So we said 3 would be readable with difficulty. In this case, number 2 is the answer. Let's go with the one under me here. What should be included along with the call sign of the aircraft to indicate the cancellation of a distress message? We saw this one. I'm not going to go through. It's Mayday once, hello all stations 3 times. This is all the information needed. Silence fini, out. Cool. Let's check the one I'm covering right now. An initial call to Timmins FSS would be Timmins Radio, this is. Timmins Flight Service Station, this is. Timmins Unicom, this is. Or just Timmins, this is. We saw it. An FSS, we speak to it as radio. So, Timmins Radio, this is da da da. So answer is number 1 here. Great. A pilot receives the following ATC clearance. Clear to land, turn right at first intersection. The pilot should land and attempt to turn off even though the speed is considered too high to safely accomplish the turn. Complete a touch and go if it is not possible to safely accomplish the turn. Land at the nearest intersection possible to commensurate with safety. Or land and do a 180-degree turn and taxi back to clear the runway at the requested intersection. Number 2 and 3 are both kind of valid, but the answer for the PSTAR would be number 3. Land and turn off at the nearest intersection possible to with safety, or commensurate with safety. Like I said, if any PSTAR question talks about safety, that's the answer. So number 3 is the answer. The radio telephone urgency signal to indicate a condition concerning the safety of an aircraft, vehicle, or some person on board which does not require immediate assistance is Mayday, Pan, emergency, or urgency. We saw it. Mayday is immediate assistance. Pan is not immediate assistance. Really dangerous and useful, but not immediate. So you would say Pan. So in this case, answer is number 2. A radio-equipped aircraft has been cleared to land at a controlled airport. A pilot should acknowledge the clearance by saying, Roger, Wilco, just clicking the microphone button, or transmitting the aircraft call sign. We saw it. When you're landing, you have to transmit the call sign back. Or aircraft call sign is registration. It's the same thing. Wilco, for those who don't know, means will comply. It's a way of saying, got it, I'm going to do it. But that's not the situation where you would do it. So in this case, the answer is number 4, transmitting the aircraft call sign. Though I suggest you do more in reality. The term EST and the end time of a new or replacing NOTAM means the NOTAM is valid for 24 hours, 48 hours, until the time quoted in the NOTAM, or until a canceling NOTAM or replacing NOTAM is issued. We saw this. Estimated means you need a replacing NOTAM or canceling NOTAM to um, end the NOTAM. Fantastic. Let's continue. A pilot is cleared to taxi the runway. Ooh, my camera's down here. I'm gonna move it back. There we are. A pilot is cleared to taxi to the runway in use without a hold short clearance. To get there, the aircraft must cross 2 taxiways and 1 runway. This authorizes the pilot to taxi to the runway in use but must hold short, the runway in use but further clearance is required to cross each taxiway and runway en route, in route, the position on the runway without further clearance, and 4, the runway in use but further clearance is required to cross the I think on the French version of this I made a mistake. I think I said it's number 1. Now that I'm rereading this now, I'm 90% certain the answer is number 4. I used to be able to do the PSTAR every day and get 100% every time I did it, but that has been months ago. I am 90% certain the answer is the runway in use, but further clearance is required to cross the other runway. Because there's no hold short clearance, so you need authorization to cross another runway. Sorry to whoever watched the French video first. I think I'm right now. It's number 4. One down here. A pilot holding a heading of 270 receives the following message from ATC. Traffic 2 o'clock, 5 miles eastbound. This information indicates the traffic is. So we didn't speak about this today, but I think it's pretty simple to understand. It's like a clock, right? 12. Behind you, you have 6. To your right, you have 3. To your left, you have 9. It's like a clock in front of you, right? So if you say you have traffic at your 2 o'clock, that means there's a plane. By the way, guys, remember traffic does not mean like road traffic. It just means a plane. There's traffic at your 2 o'clock. So comes out 60 degrees to the right. Not 90 degrees. That would be 3 o'clock. 60 degrees to the right at an unknown altitude. Because we don't say the altitude. Fantastic. Under me here. Ground control authorizes Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie, taxi runway 29, hold short of runway 04. The pilot should acknowledge this by replying Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie 2, and then what you have to say is not just runway 04, it's hold short runway 04. Okay? Like as we said, hold short any taxi clearance. What am I saying? What am I saying? What did I just say? You read back any hold short clearance. Sorry about that. MF procedures such as frequency, distance, and altitude to follow are given in the CFS or CWAS, DAH, TC-AIM, or FTM. The FTM is a book that teaches you how to pilot, how to land, how to take off, all this stuff. It has nothing to do with this. TC-AIM gives you a lot of useful information on general aviation, on like everything that has to do with aviation generally. How to read charts, how to do whatever. Not what place has what frequency. Designated Airspace Handbook, never even used that in my life. The answer is the CFS, Canada Flight Supplement, the little blue book I was telling you guys about earlier. See that CWAS, that's a water aerodrome. It's similar, but it's just to land on the water. That's it. Okay, cool. So, let's check quickly what the course will be for next class. Today we saw collision avoidance, visual signals, and communications. Communications is a bit longer than others because it took a lot of things, I guess, information. But I think you got the general idea. You guys are not able to take at least those 3 sections of the PSTAR. By next class, we should probably be seeing aerodromes, equipment, pilot responsibilities, wake turbulence, maybe aeromedical if I'm feeling really like snazzy about it. If I'm really feeling really snazzy. But yeah, once again, communications was really long today. So in future videos, I'd be able to fit more topics into a video. Fantastic. I don't have any homework for you guys at the moment. I will be thinking of one though. That sounded too mean. I meant that in a joke way. You guys know me. I will be assigning you homework though. You guys need to understand this. Um, Good luck to those doing the exam, of course. Hopefully, I'll be finished by all with all my videos by the time the exam comes around. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. See you all in the next video.